Hi, I'm Briana Hetherington.
I'm Jenn Hatcher.
And I'm Kat Gottlieb.
Welcome to the Conscious Creator Community Podcast. We are over the moon excited to share our wisdom, experiences, and valuable insights to becoming the best version of yourself.
What if the version of you reacting to stress, criticism, or rejection isn't the adult you think you are today, but the you who was once 5 years old, just doing her best to feel safe? Today, we're diving deep into what psychologists call your inner child, the part of your mind and body that remembers everything you've ever felt, even when you can't consciously recall it.
That part of you that never healed as you grew older, she's still there, shaping your fears, your patterns, and even your ability to feel joy.
Which means if you've ever asked yourself, why do I keep reacting like this? You're about to find out the answer.
Your inner child isn't gone. She's guiding you until you heal her. Welcome to the Conscious Creator Community Podcast, your guiding light on the path to personal growth and transformation. We're here to connect, inspire, and grow together, elevating awareness, acting with intention and purpose, and creating measurable, meaningful impact.
And I'm Kat, your heart-led healing guide and intuitive feeler of energy.
And I'm Bri, a bridge between science and soul. Together, we're here to help you understand the why behind your patterns and the how behind your healing.
And I'm Jenn, your really, really busy mom, working person who tries to do everything, and soak up what these two are sharing so that we can bring it all together and execute it in a daily life that makes sense and is more aligned. So let's dive into this inner child. The inner child isn't a metaphor, it's a biological reality. Oftentimes when people hear inner child, they think of something symbolic or abstract. But neuroscience tells us this is a very real part of who we are. Between birth and about age 7, our brain is primarily in theta waves, which means it's a highly suggestible, almost hypnotic state. It's the same frequency as dreaming. And that means our tone, our facial expressions, and our emotional experiences become deeply imprinted into our subconscious.
So basically, we're downloading the emotional software of our environment.
I want you all to sit with that for a second, right? So just think back for a moment to your early years, birth to 7. There's probably a lot that happened that is somewhat glorious and maybe not glorious. And so all of those experiences are leading to this inner child we're talking about today. So if you haven't thought about that timeline in life for a while, just take a second with it. And Dr. Bruce Lipton, a cellular biologist, explains this in The Biology of Belief, that our subconscious mind is like a tape recorder. It stores not just facts, but emotional interpretations of safety and love. So if love felt consistent, your inner child learned the world is safe. If love felt inconsistent or conditional, your inner child learned I have to earn it. And these early programs run about 95% of our daily behavior, according to Lipton's research.
Wow, 95%.
Yes.
So your inner child is basically the keeper of your nervous system's emotional memories.
Absolutely. And Dr. Bessel van der Kolk calls this the body keeping score. So even when your mind forgets, your body remembers. And when you feel triggered today, your brain reactivates those same neural pathways that were wired in childhood.
And that's why we can't just think our way out of reactions. because the reaction isn't happening in our logical mind. It's happening in our emotional memory system.
Wow, that's wild. And it's also very freeing because it means there's nothing wrong with us. We just need to bring safety back to the parts that never felt it. Your brain is still running emotional code it wrote before the age of 7.
So we learn who we are through how we were seen. When we're little, our sense of self is formed through attunement, how others respond to our emotions. And we're going to load you down with tons of facts today. And so I've got another one for you right here. Dr. Daniel Siegel from UCLA calls us mind sight, or our ability to be seen and see internally. So if our parents were stressed, unavailable, or inconsistent, we adapted by suppressing our own emotions to stay connected. And that suppression becomes disconnection from the self.
So that's where the people pleasing, the perfectionism, and even emotional shutdown comes from.
Absolutely. These were all inner child coping strategies. They're brilliant survival mechanisms. They're important. But as adults, they cost us connection and authenticity.
I think it's really important to, and I'm going to say this with some compassion. And of course, I'm not speaking about all caregivers, but I'm saying many of us, there's something really important to understand so you can heal through maybe forgiveness. Most of us, our caregivers weren't like intentionally trying to hurt us. They were just often acting out of their own unhealed inner child. When you can see your parents from that perspective, it really helps, I guess, with forgiveness.
Yeah, 100%. I know as I have gotten older and gone through my own layers of healing, I have come to realize that I choose to believe that everybody gives the best they have to give. And they're meeting you where they are at that moment and place. And so healing isn't about blame and assigning blame. It's about breaking the cycle. And awareness doesn't accuse, it liberates, right? And Bree, I know you're going to add something here, but before you add that, I want to add one more thing of my own, which is like team. I catch myself reacting in times of, particularly in times of like intense stress. I see my inner child coming out and still showing up. And I don't like the way that I'm showing up sometimes, especially with my younger child. Like I see the hurt on her face when I react inconsistently or over the top or things like that. And so I always say, give yourself grace, yourself grace, because it's not like you're going to listen to this episode and be like, oh, cool, I get it now. I'm healed. Like we're going, right? Like this it's those layers of onions. It's going to take time. And sometimes you're not going to show up as your best self. But awareness doesn't accuse, it liberates. And it's that first step.
I love that. Awareness doesn't accuse, it liberates. Well, I remember realizing that my tendency was to just overachieve. And as a little girl, trying to prove her worth over and over. And once I gained that awareness of that inner child, I was able to heal it. You learn to survive by disconnecting from yourself. Healing is what brings you home.
Ooh, that's huge, Bree.
That's a deep one.
Wait, say that one again so our listeners really, really get it, because that's really important.
Yeah.
You learned to survive by disconnecting from yourself. Healing brings you home.
It kind of makes me want to hug my inner child. Like, you're
A
okay,
million
you're
percent.
safe.
Yeah.
Yes. Like,
1,000,000%.
Okay, so let's layer on what Bree just said. You can't heal through logic You heal through love. Now, you need a little bit of both, right? You need logic and love. There's even a whole parenting system called Love and Logic, but we're not talking about that today. But you heal through love and forgiveness and compassion. And reparenting means becoming the adult your younger self always needed. And again, if those first 7 years were somewhat inconsistent for you or traumatic or whatever, you probably became a little adult really quickly and made very adult decisions as a little human. But it's okay. It's not about pretending you had a different past. You don't. It's about giving yourself the compassion that you missed. It's about acknowledging we're just doing the best you can. I've talked about this on other episodes. I'm going to bring it up again. Giving myself grace, I can't say that enough. So you may have heard me talk before how I am a recovering workaholic, and that A-type perfectionist, over the top. I was always the one putting the most hours in. I was always the one taking on the most. Even I have a very real-time story. Even last night in my home, we're painting my younger daughter's bedroom, and I am the painter in the house because I am the one who cares the most about the details. And I'm just going to give it to you all here. I railed my eye on the ladder coming up. This eye right here. I'm hiding it, hopefully, with makeup today. But I was just not paying attention. I was coming up from bending over, and I hit my corner of my eye on the ladder. Now, I put up a good fight for probably a good 40 minutes, that even though my vision was a little blurry in my right eye, and I had a searing headache right here, and we were starting to get color. So I'm sitting on the floor in my daughter's bedroom with an ice pack on my eye. And I'm like, no, I'm going to finish the painting. And my husband, being the amazing person he is, has infinite patience. Thank you for that, sweetheart. Love you. Infinite patience. And he finally wore me down to where in my A-type personality, recovering workaholic, where I'm going to do it all, still shows up sometimes, I yielded over the roller, and I let my husband, and thankfully to my husband, finish out the rolling of the walls in my daughter's bedroom. But this still shows up, and I bring up this story because it's very real time happening in my life, but also that inner child was still no, I need to do it all. I'm going to take care of it. It's me against the world, and I've got it. And that's not my world. That's not my life. But again, intense stress moment, it still came out. And we as a family worked through it together. And I'm giving myself grace, and I'm giving myself compassion. And again, I'm so grateful for a human who has infinite patience to help me work through these parts where that inner child is still showing up I got this. You don't have to do this all on your own. It is not you against the world. And again, if you're a type A, Rome was not built in a day. You are not going to flip the switch and this is just going to happen. By the way, these are all sentences that my loving husband says to me frequently. Not as frequently as, 13 years ago, but they still show up. So again, over time. Yeah. Kat, tell us more about this.
I think the best thing about your story is this idea that healing your inner child, it's not I think we said this before, it's not okay, you broke your arm, you put a cast on it, several weeks later you take the cast off and you're healed. I think it is the thing that it's part of us. And I think learning to be aware of it, first of all, and then loving that part of us, loving that scared little person that was just trying to make sense of the world is super important. And I do a technique occasionally still to this day, and it's mirror work. And I literally look in the mirror and I say, "You're safe now." I know it kind of sounds strange to just stand in front of a mirror and say that, but you guys, there's the truth about the mind-body connection. So your nervous system doesn't really know the difference between what we call reality and what's happening inside of us, in our imagination or somewhere in our memory banks. And it's for better or for worse. So one of the cool things is you can intentionally rewire that safety response to heal yourself emotionally and even physically.
Ooh, okay. I have done this. The one for me is I am worthy, or you are worthy. Like, I get really close to the mirror, like uncomfortably close. And when I started doing this, I literally like would tear up telling, gosh, I'm going to tear up talking about it. But telling myself, you are worthy, and looking in my own eyes and like hearing that and really, really trying to believe that and feel it in my bones. Today I do, but it took some of that mirror work.
Yeah. And I think learning, sorry to interrupt, but like learning what your inner child needed to hear that never received it. So like it might be about safety, or it might be about worthiness, whatever it is. I think as listeners, find that phrase that eases something inside of you, and that's the elixir, the healing elixir for your inner child.
Yeah, and it might change over time too, right? Like as you're going through those layers, for me, it was that you are worthy. It's like, again, for super close to the mirror, get uncomfortably close. Look at all the little speckles in your eyes. I guarantee they're amazing and beautiful and magical. But tell yourself what you need to hear over and over and over. Yeah. And this might sound a little woo-woo, but it's not. This is actually backed by neuroscience. And I feel so guilty talking about neuroscience instead of having Bree talk about it. But Bree, you'll correct things if I get them wrong here. So Dr. Joe Dispenza's work on neuroplasticity shows that the brain is constantly rewiring itself based on repeated emotional and behavioral patterns. So when we repeatedly respond to stress with self-criticism, urgency, or shutdown, those neural pathways get reinforced, and the brain learns this is how we survive. But this is worth repeating over and over and over. The opposite is also true. Each time you pause and choose compassion over criticism, soothing instead of shaming, you are interrupting an old survival loop and laying down new circuitry. So I'm going to say that again. Each time you pause and choose compassion over criticism, soothing over shaming, you are interrupting an old survival loop, and here we go. That new circuitry is getting created and getting laid down. And that moment matters more than we realize. You're not just being nicer to yourself, you're actively teaching your nervous system that it's safe to respond differently now. Safety's huge, right? Over time, those small repeated moments of regulation become your new default. And this is how healing becomes practical, not theoretical. And I've shared a couple moments where like I've caught myself in these real moments and these old patterns, even very recently. Again, stress. It brings out the not best in us. So in those moments, you can choose something different. And I have noticed that when I feel like I've disappointed someone, I feel my anxiety spike. I start over analyzing. What if I could have done differently? Where could I have fit this in? What words could I have used? What words did they use? You know, what are their facial expressions or tones? Like I read rooms and people as a habit, but this pattern is really real, and acknowledging it is the first step. Bri, can you take us through this next part here of like, hey, okay, you caught yourself in this pattern, give yourself some credit.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, like Jenn said, give yourself that grace, right? So you caught yourself in an old pattern. Now ask yourself these 3 anchoring questions. Okay? You don't have to answer them out loud. Just feel free to journal them or just reflect on them. So the first one is, what was happening externally that activated your inner child? Feedback, conflict, pressure, feeling, dismissed, being too much, not enough, too sensitive. What was happening externally that activated your inner child? All right, number 2. Old pattern versus a new choice. What was your automatic response in the past, and what did you choose instead this time? What was your automatic response in the past, and what did you choose this time? All right, number 3, integration. What did your body or nervous system learn in that moment? What did it feel like? I didn't abandon myself. You know, I could stay present without spiraling. This is an excellent time to remind you. Journaling this stuff. Oh, Kat, I love it. She's got the noise.
I was just gonna say, just a little natural plug for Briana's latest journal, guys. This is a game changer. This one's kind of beat up. This is my actual copy that I use.
Aww.
But you can go in here, and it's called Neuroshift, and it helps identify old thought patterns and then shift them into a new choice. So,
thanks, Kat. Appreciate it.
Yep.
We'll definitely have to do a full episode on the neuroshift.
Yes, 100%.
Awesome. And so looking at some of the studies that has been done, Dr. Kristen Neff's studies on self-compassion shows it's the fastest route to emotional resilience. Self-compassion, guys. It is so important to love yourself, give yourself grace, accept yourself. It also, when you are practicing self-compassion for yourself, it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's safety signal. I want to underline this part because it's where people get stuck the most. Self-compassion isn't soft. It's regulatory. You need it.
that's good.
You need it as a human being. And when you choose compassion in a triggered moment, you're telling your nervous system, we don't have to brace anymore. And that's when emotional intelligence becomes embodied, not just understood. This isn't about fixing your inner child. It's about standing beside her.
I had to write that one down.
I was writing it down too.
Self-compassion isn't soft. It's regulatory.
Yes.
I mean, that is mind-blowing. The idea that, sorry.
I think we should sit with that one a second, right? Because, again, in my old processing, in the Jenn against the world mentality, like, I had to be a warrior all the time.
Yeah,
and
me too.
By taking off that armor, or even allowing any links to open up, it wasn't safe. And so I certainly didn't give myself self-compassion. So that's so huge it's regulatory. Like, your body actually needs that. So I think it's probably why you and I are both like, holding on to that one so much. That's really, really big.
Yeah.
And, reparenting yourself is both emotional and biological. There's layers and different components to this. But you're literally changing your brain's chemistry when you choose gentleness. And for those of you out there, again, who are wearing that armor, and it's heavy, heavy armor, it does feel really good when you get to take it off, even when it's piece by piece. That gentleness is not weakness. It's good for you. Embrace it. It's regulatory. And like many things we talk about, I'm emphasizing again, piece by piece, this takes time. So be gentle with yourself. Give yourself grace as you're changing your chemistry. We'll probably say this like 10 more times between this episode and episode number 2 on inner child, but it's not a one and done kind of thing.
And I love that because it makes healing so doable. It's not some abstract idea. It's daily micro moments of self-kindness. It's powerful work that can have powerful healing effects. So if you want to explore healing your inner child, here are some practical tools you can use. The first thing to do is pause and name it. When triggered by something, stop. Give yourself a moment and try this technique. Say to yourself about your triggered response, this is my inner child, right? Awareness, number 1. It re-engages and connects the inner child with the adult brain. And then if you feel comfortable doing this, you can place your hand on your heart and say, I am safe now. Or like we said before, use the mantra that your inner child needs to hear or never heard when she was growing up. Give her that healing mantra. And then provide reassurance to all parts of your body. We carry stress in our body in different ways. We have somatic responses. A lot of health concerns are from what they say is stored stress. So find the acknowledgement that the inner child needs by exploring your feelings around the trigger. For example, maybe instead of safety, you go deeper into why you use that term, and you say, well, even though I felt unseen or abandoned or unaccepted, like find the reasons why your inner child needs that mantra. And then here's something I think is really healing if you have the time and the space to do it. Imagine your younger self sitting beside you, or just feel the presence of her. If that's like we all have different sensory techniques, so if you can imagine seeing her, or if you just need to feel her presence. So for me, I sense my inner child more than I see her. Like, I just feel her energy. But the point is to connect with that part of you, to give her the message that she's allowed to ask for help. Ask her, what do you need right now? Acknowledge and validate her feelings. She is allowed to communicate whatever she needs to you. And that mere allowing for your inner child, your remembered little self, to express herself or himself, that is the healing that you're allowing into your psyche. Now, to finish this, you'll want to ground yourself through your senses. You'll breathe deeply, move gently, or journal. Tapping is also called EFT, and it is a way to release stored emotions, something that you might want to explore further. You can Google it, and there's all kinds of techniques out there.
I think it's in Via Wonderment on one of the activities where you have the prompt to write a letter to yourself as a child. And as you were talking, it made me think of that. So I actually had to take a moment with that, and I came back to it a couple different times, but it was really, really healthy and really, really good for me to see what was hiding beneath the surface that I wasn't necessarily thinking about every day. So I just thought about that prompt in Via Wonderment as you were talking about that.
Well,
so.
That's cool that you mentioned that, because you're absolutely right. It's not a one and done situation. Journaling and rejournaling, peeling back those layers of the onion, it needs to be done a lot, and you can discover new things about yourself every time you do it.
As I digress on that 1 second, I do also want to share with our listeners, like, it's okay if you feel a little bit of anxiety about it, or you need to set it aside and come back to it. And if going in deeper and deeper feels a little bit uncomfortable, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, I felt a little uncomfortable. That's why I needed to keep coming back to it to go deeper and deeper. So it's like, it's okay if it's not all sunshine and rainbows and puppy dogs and unicorns, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna write this letter myself. It's gonna be amazing. For some people, it will be amazing, and you'll be like, you're the most amazing little kid ever. Like, but just it made me think of that prompt, and I wanted to call out that I had a little bit of like, about it, and I needed to come back to it a couple times. So yeah, it's not a one size fits all. But every time you do this, you're building a bridge between who you were and who you are becoming. And so again, rewiring the brain, self-compassion is brain rewiring in action.
Oh,
Yeah.
so powerful. Well said, Jen. Well, if nothing else, I want you to walk away with this. The next time you notice a big reaction, pause and ask, how old does this feel? That one question brings the adult back online, and that's your integration. So here's your invitation. Spend 5 minutes in quiet today, connecting with your inner child. Ask them what they need, and then listen. Sit with it in stillness.
Yeah, it's a big one. And if you can, do the healing practice I mentioned before. Say these words to yourself. I see you. I love you. You're safe now. Or say the words that your inner child needs. That's reparenting in its simplest, purest form.
Healing your inner child is not a one-time event. It is a relationship. You're rebuilding trust with yourself, one compassionate moment at a time. And again, I strongly recommend you take the time and write that letter to your inner child. Tell her you were doing the best you could, if those are words that make sense for you. Tell that inner child of how proud you were when they did X, and they'd be proud of you now for doing Y. It's super therapeutic. Okay. Again, this is part 1, and what we talked about today isn't about fixing yourself. It's about understanding how your nervous system learned to survive and how you can choose differently going forward. In episode 2, we're going to deep dive a little further into where those patterns came from.
And make sure to grab your free inner child reflection journal. It's designed to help you gently apply today's insights with guided prompts and daily practices.
And come join us at theconsciouscreatorcommunity.com, where we share tools, resources, and community support for this healing journey.
Remember, you don't outgrow your inner child. You grow with her. And we can't wait to see you on episode 2 of Inner Child.
See you guys. Thanks.
Thank you.